So, I'm having a normal day, and suddenly the texts start coming in. Hey, your phone's going to burn up any minute. I thought, that's never a good sign. What's going on? Well, evidently, Candace Owens drops this conspiracy theory that I'm somehow leading the January 6th insurrection. I don't know. I thought that was already old history there, but evidently I'm involved. And my family is somehow a military-industrial complex family, and we're implicated in the Charlie Kirk cover-up of the attack. And I'm sitting there like my jaw dropping open going, my gosh, I knew Candace was slipping, but she mentioned me by name. Yeah, you're a whole 15-minute segment right down to your 7 Mountain teaching. I thought, oh, gosh. Well, here's the point, folks. I got to cover that today. We're going to cover, a couple of broadcasts to cover this today. I haven't seen the video yet, or the message she did, actually. But the stress, cortisol stress happens in a lot of different ways. And in the last days, or in the days we're living in, you can never know when you're gonna suddenly be in the thick of a real battle. But I'm going to tell you something I've noticed, and I've made this decision, that I've got to treat spiritual warfare. I've even got this new product I'm working on called Next Level Spiritual Warfare. I'll talk to you about. Ironically, I'm talking about it now. But it's because there's another level of warfare coming in the United States. You could feel it. And going into the midterms, just watch this last election cycle. The warfare is going to increase. What am I bringing that up for? Because you and I are going to have to be stronger than we've ever been. It may sound strange, but I'm going to focus the new year. My first event is the experts in physical, mental health, and emotional health. I'm going to be at the Trump Doral in Miami, January 15th through 18th, with the very best experts in this area. Dr. Jordan Rubin and cardiovascular experts. I've got Peter McCullough's going to be there, Simone Gold. We're going to be focusing on making sure you are the healthiest. If you've got sickness, if you've got early stages of mental fog, or I don't care what it is, I've got the experts covering 8 areas for you to be in the most peak zone condition of your life. That's why I want you to go to lancewallnau.com/wellness. Join us at the Trump Doral in sunny Florida. Get your tickets now, because I'm promoting this now because this thing's going to fill up. We did it once last year, and we said, maybe we'll do it again because people loved it so much. They kept saying, thank you. Very, very seldom do people thank you for a program. Well, they thanked me for that. Trump Doral, Miami, Florida, January 15th through 18th in sunny Florida. Get your tickets now, lancewallnau.com/wellness. Save your seat and check out all of these powerful docs we're going to be bringing in. I look forward to seeing you there. Start the year off strong. And don't let the warfare wear you down. God bless. Well, the Trump train has arrived. But now if you're like me, you're feeling that discombobulated sense that, like I said, we got all of our guys that we're wanting to line up their firepower against the left are now shooting at each other. It'd be comical if it was happening on the other side, but it's happening on our side. So let's dive into this thing. By the way, I am particularly concerned about what's happening with Turning Point becoming the target of the madness of people like Candace and her following, which she accuses me of having a cult following. I'm a little bit more convinced that that the people that are drinking the Kool-Aid, that think that Turning Point was somehow working to take out Charlie, there's a level of madness that you have to subscribe to believe that only becomes stark, I suppose, if you listen to the people. Some of the people I'm going to share right now. I was looking at someone I met who's Officer Tatum. You probably have seen him. I met him at NRB. We had a brief talk. I really should have him on the show because we're of the same, philosophy. Now, he did an interview for Trigonometry, which is Konstantin Kissin's broadcast with his lesser-known Francis Foster sidekick. But these two Brits really do a real benefit to all of us because they approach current events with the disciplined detachment of people like a Jordan Peterson, who's simply detecting what's going on, not ideologically trapped in a universe where they're constantly filtering things through a lens. But they had Officer Tatum on, who is a friend of Candace Owens, and didn't want to say anything against her because he and she started together with Brexit. But he's watching with great concern what's happening. He doesn't want to say anything that would disrupt their relationship because they have family and friends that are interwoven. But his thinking is very clear regarding his concerns. And I'm going to share some of this with you. And then next week, I'll get into my response to stuff that Candace has said specifically about me. But I actually haven't seen what she said. Disclaimer here, I haven't seen it yet. I tend to not see everything, so I got to go watch it before I respond to it. But I do know what she's saying and how it's affecting what I'm talking about today, which is our movement. It's not her. It's a spiritual movement. The devil is disrupting that revival and reformation which was coming to America. You would have thought that Charlie Kirk's assassination would have created a galvanizing point, but instead it created an opportunity for institutional distrust. We have it on our side. The problem is our people don't know when to rally behind the saving of the institutions and when to challenge them. And I'm afraid that we've been so conditioned by the pharmaceutical vaccine, by the January 6th insurrection, by the stolen elections, by the attempts on Trump's life, that we celebrate every win he has, but we have a bias to not want. Even Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. I mean, my gosh, if Steve Bannon went to work for the government, we'd have our people turning against him. These are our guys. And so, but if they don't say what we want them to say, if they don't do what we want them to do, we default into, well, they're being handled by the deep state. They're under the control of the deep state. Well, there may be some deep state there that is trying to box them in, but I'm not suddenly believing they are part of the lying apparatus of the enemy and they sold themselves. I think that, frankly, Bongino would go back to podcasting and making money. He's paying a high price for his public service to the president right now. He was doing a lot. It's like Rush Limbaugh leaving the microphone and going becoming a state trooper. I mean, that's what Dan's got to do. He's taken another role. It's a sacrifice. He's not selling himself out to go be in the FBI. So anyway, so Tatum said some things that I thought would be interesting for you to hear. They're like 2-minute segments. I don't know how much I'm allowed to play someone else's broadcast, but I don't know. On the internet, I suppose I'm honoring the source. This is trigonometry. I'm listening to them, and I'm thinking, you know something? He was closer to the turning point inner circle than me, and he has some curious observations to make. Let's go ahead and play cut one, and I'll interrupt it when I have to.
But there is no money in sanity. There's money in hysteria and getting everybody worked up. The amount of conspiracies around Charlie Kirk's death is literally one of the craziest things I ever experienced. Like, you know, I've always been I have never been a part of a conspiracy, meaning that this situation happened to this person I don't know. I don't know nothing about the situation. I'm just watching on TV like everybody else. And then there's conspiracies. And then you may buy into the conspiracies. No, I'm a part of this conspiracy. Like, I knew Charlie. I know the security team. I know everybody that worked at Turning Point USA. I know the video team. I know Erica. You know, my wife and Erica text. Like, we know all of these people. I worked for Turning Point since 2017. I was the only person the last 2 years doing campus tours like Charlie was. He would do his tours, I do my tours. Like, so in the same video team, a lot of them guys would work with me. The same security team protects Charlie for, I don't know, 10 years now. And so when I see people saying stuff, it's like, whereas it's levels to it, right? I know some people are ignorant. They don't know nothing about nothing. They just like to post. But then it goes to the point where there are people that know the same people I know and say things that are incendiary, and it makes my blood boil. Like, I feel like I'm getting worked up now just thinking about it because it's so egregious what's happening to those young people that work for Turning Point, the video team. That
All right, stop. Hold it right there for a second. So, and he may go back and cover some minutes later, but I want you to catch this. What he's saying is that Turning Point, Like you've heard this, and I've heard it, it's stupid. But I mean, and these are friends of mine. I'm sorry. But like, first of all, I have like a 50 texts. Hey, Candace is talking about you. It's like, why are you listening to Candace Owens in the first place? I mean, you're part of the problem. You're feeding it. You're like, well, I gotta go. I don't know why people, they know she's off, but I think part of them is so conspiracy mesmerized that they're seduced. It's kind of, there's a way you can deliver this drip feed of, I had a dream, and then, I've got a source, and why is the FBI lying about me? And you can create this whole kind of, if you're really good at it, you can create this illusion. I think Alex Jones is good at it. It's an art form. It's the ability to create this dramatic conspiracy constellation that is resisting you as you're crusading to get the truth out, and the people are with you getting the truth. Well, that's the illusion. So then you come along and you go, well, let me find out who she's talking about, and then I find out it's me. I go, wait a second. I'm not the guy. Then my dad, it's hilarious. I don't want to go there yet. 99-year-old guy, fought in World War II, and, he hasn't been in the military, since he was 20. And he said, here's my dad. And supposedly, he's the central actor in the great military conspiracy behind Charlie Kirk. What the H are you talking about? This is 99. He was the oldest living veteran. He put on a hat. He was very proud of it, but he's a World War II vet, you dummy. Are all the World War II vets equally suspect? Evidently, Rob McCoy, if you're a pastor and your dad served in the military, Candace has a connection. She's connecting the dots. Well, anyway, so what Tatum is saying here, and it's important you get this, he's saying that he knows the people. Frank Turek is an apologist. He's a Christian apologist. Charlie traveled with Frank because Frank helped him structure arguments. Charlie Kirk was an autodidactic, like me. He could have gotten a lot of degrees, but he went to the universities and the schools to do the coursework. He wasn't looking for the degree. He wanted to do the study, and he taught himself. He would surround himself with apologists who had arguments that were shaped over years in campus debates, so he could learn the flip chart of how do I answer this, how do I answer that, and those are the people he was with because he stood all alone at Oxford. Line up all the Oxford Ivy Leaguers, the left-wing, propagandized youth with their attitude, and they line up one after another. And by himself, like Maximus in the arena, he just knocked them left, right, left. A hostile audience, he just did it by himself. And like he said afterward, he said, "Man, it's a psychological trip. It takes a lot out of you." So you have pastors with you that pray for you, friends that work with you, and these are the people, the beautiful people, the Christians that work with Charlie that are being smeared as though they're part of an assassination group. That's the crap that's coming out of Candace right now that needs to be spiritually shut down by praying Christians, because I think it's satanic in origin and not even human because of the damage it's doing. But let's go ahead and listen to the frontline guy. What does he know about that crew? He worked with them.
Took an SD card. Mike Turek, who he was doing a hat adjustment. I know that guy. Frank Turek is a great guy. He's a Christian guy. He's one of the biggest Christian apologists that go on campus every day. He was Charlie's good friend. I was just at an event before this, like a year before that, riding in the car with him. He's a mentor. He's a great man. And then people on TV saying he's doing hand signals. His security team, these guys are all professional individuals that protect Charlie with their life for several years, everywhere he goes. And you think they're doing a hand signal. Anyway.
All right, hold it right there. We got to take a quick break. I don't want you to miss this. Because what happened with Frank is, Frank was adjusting his hat, and they go back and they catch it, and they go, look at him. He's doing like signals, like a third base coach. He's doing certain hand signals. Hey, go get him now. Go get him now. Only people that don't know anything would say that. But for someone to repeat it and use it as, what's going on here? That's criminal misinformation. All right, we'll be right back. I got something coming in January at the Trump Doral with all of my favorite doctors. I got a whole group of medical experts going to talk about making you maha healthy. You're going to make you healthy and going to make you wealthy and make you wise for the race of your life, because we're not going to lose. Last year at this time, we were celebrating. This year at this time, we got a wake-up call, but we're going to win this battle and not lose. Go to lancewallnau.com/wellness, and you'll see why Wallnau is doing a wellness conference January 15th through 18th at the Trump Doral. Listen, it's cold up north. Come down to Florida. All right, lancewallnau.com/wellness. Save your seat. All right, do you remember how I said earlier, the part that really is weird is you've got 4 or 5 trans violent incidents, which is, I think, mental illness, agitated by a cocktail of testosterone and other psycho drugs that you're taking to transfer your gender. You got Antifa with its violence at Berkeley. I could bring it up right now and show you they're attacking Turning Point at Berkeley. They're in Chicago. They're in Seattle. They're in Portland. They're in New York. Antifa, now designated like a terrorist organization that prides itself on being decentralized, so you can't really nail it. Charlie was worried about them. The violent Antifa prayed that he would be protected from them, and this guy that shot him was involved with a trans relationship, homosexual trans romance, who was angry at Charlie and had Antifa-labeled bullets that were prepared to take him out. Folks, and instead of that being the focus, somehow the focus became Bibi Netanyahu. Watch this.
Some people are taking advantage of the moment, which means that it's a lot of money in conspiracies. Now that I found out, I wish I was a part of conspiracy. I'd be making way more money than I'm making now. But there's money in conspiracies. But also there's people who have another motive. And it's rooted in anti-Semitism, which makes everything that happens go down the path to lead to Jew Street. Meaning that everything that they do have to lead to the Jews, which will make people go up and beyond to outrageous lengths, beyond conspiracy, to make this person responsible or this group of people responsible. So those are kind of like the two phases and dynamics that I see in this whole Charlie Kirk thing, and Israel in some cases.
All right, let's stop for a second. So if you're an evangelical Christian, we're very quiet on this. I mean, I think Steve Bannon probably gets a little bit in the chat thread from the war room. For the most part, we aren't the people that are protesting. We don't yell. But we will talk to each other. 40 million of us, by the way, that vote MAGA. We're the backbone of the populist movement, the Christian base in America. And the folks that love God and love America, that are the religious crowd. And Trump knows they're there. I mean, he's very keenly, he calls them our pastors. That's why he wrote the strong text about his Truth Social about Nigeria. He refers to our Christian people. He identifies, he knows this group is a large part of his support base. But I want to share something with you. Thus, Christians know that the Bible says that the whole world is going to be dealing with Israel in the last days as a troublesome stone, as a stone that is a burden, as a cup that is trembling, meaning that every country that tries to pick up that Israel issue ends up dividing the land. And when they divide the land, when they hurt that land, God takes it personally. You could trace the downfall of the Dutch Empire, the Spanish Empire, the British Empire, all of these great powers, when they decided that they were the adversary of this land that God has a covenant with, not with the geography, but with the forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the promise that 6 million or 7 million of these people would have a certain inheritance in that land. And God says his controversy is they divided the land. And when Jesus comes back, if you're a Bible believer, don't talk to me about third great awakening and say, yeah, we're in a spiritual battle and screw up on this point. When Jesus comes back, because he is risen from the dead, they couldn't find his body. They would have loved to have found it and stomped out that movement 2,000 years ago. But his body is, according to the apostles, ascended and will descend in like manner to the Mount of Olives. He's not going to Poughkeepsie, New York, or Trenton, New Jersey. He's going to Israel. Why? Because history is going to be wrapped up in the same place where it was consummated. The cradle of Eden is where the Messiah was crucified, and he's returning back to that GPS location. And he's doing it at a time when all the nations, the Bible says, are in a sense adversarial with that little country. And they cry out to him in that last moment, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. When they cry out for him to return, that's when Yeshua, which is the Jewish name of Jesus, Yeshua returns and delivers Israel. So I know that the whole world turns anti-Semitic. My fear is my country will abort its own mercy, which it needs. No more gospel's been preached more here than in Africa or in communist China. And in the face of it, we blaspheme, rebuke, belittle, and persecute Christians. So I fear that when we become anti-Semitic, that's the moment when America gets redefined in the Bible. You don't find it in the last days. All the other nations, I tell you, it's weird. I can show you Russia, I can show you Iran, I can show you Egypt, I can show you Jordan. Then they're almost still called by those names. Libya in the Bible, Ethiopia, it still uses those words. I have a problem finding the United States. And a true prophetic student of eschatology will share that concern with me. Like, where are we, Lance? Well, if anything does blot us out of the history of the nations at that time when the Messiah returns, it's because it forsook the God that gave it mercy by turning its back on the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and making the Jew their enemy. Can't imagine anymore. And the 40 million educated evangelicals understand exactly what I'm talking about. So I think it's a spiritual battle we're in. Play cut two. It's a spiritual warfare we're in.
So it has become no longer right, left. It's become right, wrong. Like, these people over here, in my opinion, are being spiritually led by the devil. And I know it's a strong statement. I really believe that with my heart. The devil is deceiving people, that they cannot see the reality of what's going on. Charlie Kirk, in his own words, had made mention before he died, and he will tell you the biggest threat that he felt, and he said the assassin culture of the far left, trans extremists. We've seen them shoot up schools. They've done a whole bunch, and it's not, and let me be clear about this, it's not because they're trans. It's because they're mentally ill, and trans is one of the outlets or the expressions of a mental illness in some of these people who are out of their minds. Charlie Kirk mentioned this right before he died. Everybody that you see on this side that's losing their mind mimicked and echoed exactly what Charlie Kirk said. When that transgender person went in that school and shot those kids I forget the school that they just did it at. When he went and did that, everybody on the right was like, trans issues, the transgenders are murderers, and all this other stuff, which I thought that they went a little too far by saying trans. It's really the mental illness expressed in transgenderism. And then when Charlie dies, from the very thing that he said was what happened to him, his very fear, they lost their minds and forgot the whole plot. This is exactly who we think is trying to kill us. Is the people who have been brainwashed, who have a mental illness, and they are hypersensitive in the trans world. And this person happened to be with a trans person. And he happened to shoot Charlie after a trans question. It's very clear to me that the enemy of the conservative is the far left extremists, and maybe some jihadists if it ever gets to that point, 'cause I think it will. But that is our enemy. But when you see people at the death of Charlie Kirk, it's almost like God did a separation of the wheat and the tare. Charlie Kirk was like this, I could say the crescendo of the separation between good and evil. I really do believe so. His death should have been about revival, should have been about Christianity, should have been about the great things he's done. The people that's talking about him that knew him should be raising money for his family like we're doing. I mean, we literally did a T-shirt for Charlie, and 100% of the profits go to his wife. This is what they should be doing. Instead, they're following a path of division and evilness because some of them know better.
And listen to this. Because Frank Turek has a family member who was in the military, because I have a dad who was a World War II veteran, the oldest living veteran of World War II, 99 years of age. Somehow, when he dies, he's somehow part of a conspiracy. My dad put me in a military academy. Yeah, I have a military background. The extent of my military background is my dad sent me to a Valley Forge Military Academy, put me in a military high school for 15, 16, and 17 to get me away primarily from girls because he didn't think I'd graduate if I didn't go to a military school. That's the extent of my high-level FBI military integration with the Pentagon to kill Charlie. And then you got Candace saying that the staff, you know, the young guy that went and grabbed that video clip of what happened. You know why he did that? He did that because he was afraid that someone could tamper with the evidence, and he wanted to make sure that whatever evidence he got, he'd get over to Kash Patel and the FBI, because that camera had the back angle of the crowd. He was afraid it would get tampered with. The guys that were just in their hat were putting on sunglasses. They were his debating coach partners and pastors and prayer partners. The people that were in the security were there for 10 years, devastated by this. I got another footage I'm going to do in the next broadcast, which shows these precious young people in Turning Point. They are not the inner city street crowd. They're putting on more courage at Turning Point now than I've seen in any organization, because they're not frontline fighters. These are not brawlers. These aren't brick-throwing Antifa people. These are young college kids from healthy families many of them are Christian, and they're simply trying to stand up in courage for their campus right now while they're being bullied by the sliming of people on media who are accusing his staff, friends, and wife of being part of his conspiracy. And I say it's demonic as hell, and now's the time the church needs to stop and say, you can keep slowing down your car and driving by this train, this car wreck just to gawk at it, or you could put an end to it. Because this infighting that is happening in the church, the innocent people that are now getting drawn into it, I think now's the time, in the name of Jesus, that God brings his hand down and says, stop. I pray that the mouths are stopped that are profiteering off of chaos. I pray that as Jannies and Jambries were exposed in Timothy, in the day, it refers to the day when Moses had to deal with magicians and court seducers. I pray today that the Jannies and Jambries spirit of deception is exposed and made manifest for the folly that it is, because we have got to get our act together in this country, and this sideshow for money has got to be quashed. Anyway, that's my cheery exhortation for today. I'll be in a better mood tomorrow, I promise you, after I watch what Candace says about me. Anyway, God bless you, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate